What's up, everybody? It is Come Play With Us, Danny, the horror movie review podcast. Of course, I am Evan and my horror sibling Megan. We are back for another episode to review the It. Should we even call it a series now? Because we're doing we're going to go over the mythology of the remake and then the original TV series. And then we'll talk about the TV series that's coming up on HBO Max.
I guess we can call it the culmination of the genre and series.
The It Chronicles?
That's exactly it. Yeah, yes, the It Chronicles. Why don't we put it that way?
Okay. If you're just joining us in, we are Come Play With Us, Danny, the horror movie review podcast. You can catch us on YouTube, which you're at right now. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell when our new episodes drop. And of course, if you want the audio version, go to Anchor.fm, Amazon Music, Google Play, and Spotify. So tonight we are going to be going over the It Chronicles, per se.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about It. And the famous clown Pennywise, and we'll have some movie news, and it'll be great. So, should we do should we just kind of dial it back to the original version, like the original TV miniseries per se of it, or should
let's go for the OG, the original.
The OG. Okay, let's do that.
The original, and let's dive into that basically.
Okay, that's cool with me.
So basically, for those who have never seen the original It was a TV miniseries, actually, 1990 miniseries. No, that's not correct.
No. I believe it was early 90s.
Was it early 90s? Yes.
Yes.
Basically, yes, it was. It was
1990.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. It was a 3-hour and 12-minute miniseries. It's based on, it says, in 1967, preteen outcasts find an evil demon who possesses a child-killing clown. 30 years later, they reunite to stop all the demon once for all when it returns to hit their hometown. I'm going to let everybody know a little bit of weirdness about myself. When I used to have sleepovers with my friends, I actually used to play this all the time.
Yes, it was very, in our house. Yeah. Especially when your friends came over and you showed this all the time. Yeah.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I was a weirdo.
It's all right with me.
For those who don't know the cast of this original movie or series, Harry Anderson, who played Richie Tozier. You have Dennis Christopher, who played Eddie Kasprak. Richard Masur, who played Stanley Uris, Annette O'Toole, who played Beverly Marsh, Tim Reed, who played Mike Hanlon, John Ritter, love John Ritter,
R.I.P.
R.I.P., who played Ben Hanscom, and Richard Thomas, who played Bill Denebrow, and the OG, the fantastic all-time Tim Curry played Pennywise. You did have some of the, so this is it for those who've never seen this. So the first part kind of goes when they're in their younger years. It's when the kids are all in their younger years. I would say around age 12 is what they were going for. You have the cast that actually plays now. Evan, for those who do not know, hates child actors.
No, well, hold on. Let's.
Okay, do you dislike child actors?
I dislike child actors in certain movies. Now, they actually knocked it out of the park with these child actors. I remember watching this when we were kids, and then we were watching it again as an adult, and they got really good child actors to be the kid version, like Jonathan Brandis was the original Bill. These were good child actors in this miniseries, which that's why I loved it so much, was they got a good kid cast.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I'm talking about the kids that are just whiny, like the little whiny kids that are trying too hard to act. These kids actually knocked it out of the park, and it, like, even we'll get into the remake and on that kid cast, but like this kid cast really did a great job of acting, and that's I think one of the reasons why it worked so well was if you have a great group of like kid actors that they're basically carrying the first half of this miniseries, then it's going to go a long way. Now, if you have a cast of kids that are probably, maybe whiny or from the Mickey Mouse Club from the early 90s too as well, then we have a different story, and then we have a different problem. So I think what these, the producers of this miniseries did was they really went out. I think they went out of their way to get get a really good group of kid actors to portray the younger versions of the adult characters. So that's why it worked. That's why I liked it so much. That's why the original worked so much for me, is when you have a group of kids that really know how to act, and it really goes a long way, and it shows. I mean, look, Seth Green was in it.
Yeah, Seth Green was in
Seth
it.
Green was in the movie, for
Yes, he
God's sake.
was. He was. So you have Jonathan Brandis, who R.I.P. to him. He played Bill Denenbrough. We have Brandon Crane, who plays Ben Hanscom. Adam Farazi, who plays young Eddie Kasprak. You have Seth Green. Everybody knows Seth Green as Richie Tozier. We have Ben Heller, who played Stanley Uris. Emily Perkins played Beverly Marsh. Marlon Taylor played Mike Hanlon. And I'm in agreement. I think that every single actor that was in this movie, that was kid and adult, was actually out of the park for a 1990s miniseries.
Right. And usually, so the funny thing is, I've been getting high a lot lately.
What is
But
this?
but in a
This
good way.
doesn't surprise me at all whatsoever.
But in a good way. And what
Uh-huh.
Netflix is doing now is they have a section where movies from the 90s, from the 80s and 90s, but they're including like these telemovies. Remember the ones that were on like CBS and NBC, like these ones that had a message behind it? Like
The more you know kind of crap.
yeah, something like
Okay.
that. And
All right.
they've
Okay.
been like they've had like Ryan's song on there, and the movie about who was the guy that hosted not Rescue 911, or the maybe it was Rescue 9, or the cop show, Adam Lawson or whatever his name is, the kid that got abducted and they had that
Oh
role.
yeah. I
It
know
was
what you're talking
those
about.
like really cheesy, like really
Like the
emotional.
unsolved mysteries kind of thing.
Yeah, but it was
Okay.
those movies that were based on real life situations, and they had one from one of the chicks that was on Facts of Life. She played a schizophrenic like teenager, and they didn't know how to deal with her. It was like those cheesy like 80s, early 90s movies where it was just like they had these famous actors in there before they were famous, and they
Uh-huh.
were like almost like bad acting. But
Uh-huh.
I've been going and watching them again.
The higher that you got, yes, I can see
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
and it
Okay.
just and it reminds me of like that was the time of these miniseries were huge
Yeah.
back in the day, and this is
Okay.
one of them that works. So yeah,
Okay. For those who do not know, this is actually based off of a Stephen King book called
I think
It.
everybody knows that by now. I
For
mean,
those who don't know,
for the
there's people
uninitiated,
for the uninitiated. For those who do not know, I actually have the novel itself, and I've read it numerous times. And as always, majority of Stephen King's novels, it is very graphic compared to the movies.
but so before we get into those parts that they left out of both movies,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say this about Seth Green.
Hmm.
Seth Green has been in a lot of things, and a lot of things that were in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
I want to know the real age of Seth Green. I think Seth Green is like actually 70 years old.
Why do you say that?
Well, okay, so he was in the Can't Buy Me Love, that 80s teen rom com. He played the little brother. Yeah, that was Seth Green.
Was he really in that? The one with
That
Patrick
was
Dempsey?
Seth Green.
Huh.
So it brings me to question, how old really is Seth Green? Is he a vampire and sucking the life out of children and their blood and eating out of avocado ice cream like Tom Brady is, and maybe
I mean,
becoming a vampire?
literally, it says Seth Green is 48 years old, so he's
That's
not
that's
that
a
much
god
older than I am.
that's a goddamn lie. He is like 68. He is old.
68? You
Yes.
think so?
He's part of the Illuminati in Hollywood, and he is older than what he is.
So you have to think. I say so. Going off on a tangent. So "Can't Buy Me Love" was actually put out in 1987.
Hmm.
So if Seth Green who played Chucky Miller at the time, I mean, it could work.
I mean, he's probably 60.
Okay. Well, I
Look, the
guess.
stature, he's very small. He's like borderline little people stature.
Oh. Oh.
Dwarfism.
Oh.
He could
Okay.
be. He could
Just
be.
just stop.
I
While you're
digress.
ahead.
I digress.
I'm
Let's
gonna
go
need
back
you
to
to.
it.
Yes. Yep.
I digress. Let's go back to it. Sorry.
So so it basically, like I said before, is a book made by Stephen King, who actually is starred in the film at one point. It is a miniseries directed by Tommy Lee Wallace and adapted by Lawrence D. Cohen from Stephen King's 1986 novel of the same name. Um, I just I was just say I was very impressed with this movie again. Um, like I said, you could tell it was a '90s miniseries just the way it was shot.
Hmm.
You know, it had, I don't even know if it had gore. It was more of like a weird, creepy suspense, I guess.
Yeah, there wasn't really a lot of blood compared to the
The new one.
remake, the new
Yeah.
one. But I will say this: I think what made the original It work was it had to have been Tim Curry. Like Tim
Oh yeah.
Curry
Yeah,
really that's what made this miniseries and this first iteration of it stand out was Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise the clown.
I agree.
And if you didn't have somebody, if you didn't have him, now there could have been maybe a handful of others that could have pulled off the role of Pennywise,
Hmm.
but his performance is so iconic. Like you can't, I can't see another person in that role. And obviously, Bill Skarsgård played Pennywise in this and the newer version, which he did a
Hmm.
fantastic job too as well. But when this first came out, this was really known for Tim Curry's performance
Hmm.
was of just the way. I mean, and to me, I don't know if this is my opinion, of course. Megan, I don't know if you agree with me. He didn't really come off as not so much scary,
Hmm.
but more maniacal. Like he was a
Okay.
maniacal clown. He didn't really come off as scary because I mean there was some points where he was a little bit scary. He is a people are afraid of clowns, obviously, but
Yes.
when he was in his maniacal, the laughing and then the stupid jokes that he was saying, like
Hmm.
he was more of a maniacal, almost like a Joker type clown in the movie.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah. I mean,
So
I agree on that. Yeah.
so now obviously people are going to say, well, he was terrifying as Pennywise. Yeah, I would say terrifying, but he was more as the sideshow maniacal clown. That was
Like
like
Sideshow Bob.
not sideshow Bob, almost like he played it as a serial killer. Like he
Okay.
almost like taking element. I'm sure he researched serial like John Wayne Gacy. I'm sure he took maybe his mannerisms or whatever just to play like that sort of like clown-ish type person because just the way I remember his performance was I wasn't scared.
Hmm.
I was more like this dude is crazy. This
Yeah.
dude is obviously he's not a real clown. He's
Hmm.
an alien, but like he is crazy. And that's what the performance worked for me was. It wasn't so much terrifying, it was more maniacal, like he was just a maniacal crazy ass clown.
Okay. I can definitely see that. I know that through with this again 1990s, they're still doing it's not necessarily CGI, but you have certain scenes in the movie where he comes Eddie Kaspbrak is in the shower scene where it comes through the shower. You have that type of special, I guess you would call it special effects,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it was practical effects, yeah.
it's practical effects. I mean, I was, there's certain scenes in the movie where you're like, oh, this is kind of cheesy, but again, I think you're really kind of hitting the nail on the head as far as that goes, where it's not, he didn't act like, it wasn't like demon like, but he was nuts. Like
Right.
he was nuts. This could have been without them transforming him into that weird spider creature at the end.
Crab people. Crab people. And whenever I watch that South Park episode, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
Crab
I,
people.
I honestly think
Crab
that if he
people.
didn't transform into that crab spider thing, that they could have ran with more of like a John Wayne Gacy kind of character because he was nuts. Like he
Right.
did act nuts,
And
basically.
to me, that would be my only gripe is obviously in the time when this was filmed, it was in the 90s. So practical special effects were not that great. So
Yeah.
trying to now obviously you have to be kind of loyal to the book where you're transforming into this huge crab like monster. It just kind of put the cheese factor in it. It didn't really like the payoff at the end was kind of like, okay, he's a crab monster.
Yeah, I was kind of that's the only part of the movie I think I was kind of disappointed with. This is like the end because you're like,
Yeah.
why does he look like
Why is he a crab?
why is he a crab monster?
Right.
Like what
Yeah.
what is happening here? What
Right.
I don't.
And did you get these? It's like, wow, he's a slow crab monster too.
Yeah.
Like he's really slow. Like all the adult versions of the kids like just like beat the shit out of him. He's a slow ass crab.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I wanted kind of a different ending to that because once you get past the part where it's all kind of creepy and he's weird and then they end up down in the sewers
Right.
and then he's a crab.
But you had to be somewhat close to the book because there's a lot of stuff that they took out from the book that you couldn't put in.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what I mean? So
Oh
you
yeah.
have you have to put a lot of those elements. You have to leave some of those elements into the book to be somewhat loyal to the source material.
Yeah, and as true to nature, Stephen King had a couple of his books that were put into movies, like
Couple,
Salem's. Well,
more.
yeah, a fair amount, like Salem's Lot and yeah, Pet Cemetery that was put into it. So there's I'm a huge avid reader of Stephen King, and it's never going to exactly go by the book because
Right.
he puts in so many different elements to those novels that you can't like it's these movies would be rated worse than R at this point.
Right.
So for the 90s, I think this movie was wonderfully shot, even though it was kind of under a low budget to do this. But I do think that this it was it was shot for a TV miniseries, and then in the 90s, if anybody doesn't remember, that was a huge thing to have was a miniseries other than an actual movie.
Okay, so I wanted your opinion on this. Since it's two parts,
Yeah,
which is the stronger of the two parts on the 1990 version?
I honestly want to say the first one.
The first half of it, the kids
Yeah,
part.
the kids part because once you got into them being as an adult, it kind of got hokey for me a little bit, I think.
So I'm gonna disagree with you on that part. So
Okay.
not by much too, because
Okay.
like I said before, the kids' performances in part one of this was really strong. But I think in part two of this one, I think except for the ending part, like the
Mm,
the adult versions of them in part two of this miniseries really worked for me because
okay.
you have more of the sinister aspects of Pennywise is he's offing most of these the adult versions of the kids now. He's offing
Hmm.
like as an adult. So I just like that type of way they handle that. Now I'm not
Okay.
saying like the first half of the miniseries is bad. I'm just saying I think the part two is besides the crab part, besides the ending. I think
It's a
it's the
crab.
I know it's a crab. I think it's the stronger of the two out of the 1990 miniseries.
Okay. Okay. I can see
Yeah.
that. I can definitely see that. I think because of the ending kind of
Right.
just
No,
killed it for me.
I totally get
Yeah,
that.
it's
Okay.
fine. It's fine.
All right, let's you want to move on to the reboot?
Yeah, so the reboot we have the It movie, and this is the first part came out in 2017. This movie was directed by Andres Muschietti, story by Stephen King.
Andy Muschietti.
It's Andreas. Sorry,
Yeah.
Andy Muschietti, who actually has done Child's Play.
Mm-hmm.
This movie actually had the box office was $701.8 million for this movie. Um, the cast that starred in this was Bill Skarsgård, as everybody knows, was Pennywise. You have Jaden Martell as Bill Denenbrow. We have Finn Wolfhard, which is Richie Tozier, and for those who don't know Finn, he's in Stranger Things. Sophia Lillis as Beverly Marsh, Jack Dylan Grazer as Eddie Kasprak, Jeremy Ray Taylor as Ben Hanscom, and Wyatt Olaf as Stanley Uris. Um, I I was very skeptical. Is that a word? Skeptical.
Skeptical.
Skeptical when
Like
this movie. Yes, when this movie
skeptical.
first came out. Only because I was such a fan of the miniseries, and I think I had to be honest. I think I had to see it a couple times before I was okay with it.
So I wasn't skeptical like you were.
Okay.
because from all the reports that were coming about the the remaking it or they're actually doing it again, they're gonna make it a hard R and they're gonna make it the horror the horror movie it should be, and that's why I
Hmm.
was excited about it because that's what I think everybody wanted to see is like a horror type like it as a horror movie.
Well, and I think they really accomplished it with this one. Like this
Yeah,
one with Andy Muschietti, especially, who's again done the Chucky movies. I think there was an extreme horror element to this, and for
right.
those who don't like clowns,
Hmm.
the only thing I had a problem with was Bill Skarsgård to begin with.
Really?
I did, and I like Bill Skarsgård. Don't get me wrong. I think just coming off of the character and coming off of Tim Curry, I wasn't sure if he could fill those shoes. If that makes any
It
sense.
it does. I thought he knocked it out of the park as
But
Penny.
no, and I think he did. I think he
Okay.
did. Like I said, after watching the movie for a couple times, I think that he really did embody the element of Pennywise. He did make him a little bit sillier, I think, just a smidge. But he did add the whole maniacal crazy. But then he added the gore and the horror factor to it. Basically, I mean, I think he encompassed everything.
I probably I thought Skarsgård was way better than Tim Curry.
No,
Yeah,
really?
I liked Skarsgård's performance way better than Curry's
Why?
because because instead of being the maniacal clown like Tim Curry was,
Mm,
Skarsgård was the monster that I wanted to see. He was the monster. You know what I
okay.
mean?
Okay.
He's the horror movie monster that I wanted to see. Like all this, and maybe it's because you have a better budget and you're putting this as a full length feature film, but just having him stand there in the middle of that lake with just the hand just doing this and the blood all over. That's like I'm like, yes, I'm dialed in, and just how he teased like the kids when they were in the haunted house, like the latter half of the film when he was teasing the kids.
Yeah.
Like that to me is more terrifying than what I saw of Tim Curry's performance. Like everything, I think everything about that film made the Pennywise character even more terrifying
Mhm.
than what Tim. I mean, obviously, look, it's two different eras. You have a bigger budget and you can do
Mhm.
more things with a motion picture. But
Well, that's what I was going to say was basically so I get that. I get that comparison only because again, this is the 90s and this was shot as a
right,
TV miniseries. It wasn't actually just a
actually,
movie.
let me go back on my comments.
Okay.
I would say you can't compare the two because you know why? Both performances were two totally different things.
Okay.
Because he wasn't trying to do an impression of Tim Curry. He
Mhm.
wasn't trying to go off of that performance, and I think he did say he never even watched the original.
Which
Skarsgård
is
did.
which is a good thing.
So to compare the two, you can't because they're two totally different like versions of the clown.
Okay.
Um, so I can't. I'm backtracking. So I'm gonna say they're both great performances. I like
Mhm.
Skarsgård's a little bit better because it's the more horror movie monster in it, but they both knocked it out of the park.
Okay. That's fine.
So
I mean, that's you kind of have to think of it that way because even though it's the same movie sort of,
right,
the performances are completely different from
right,
each other, and
and,
they have a different element of
right.
doing it,
And Megan, you
basically.
you can also say too, it's like it's a totally different kind of version of the movie of. It, we shouldn't even compare the two the miniseries
No.
to the original because the theatrical movie version of it because they had so many things in the background that you didn't see like the blurred out clown like if you remember in the library scene with the librarian in
Oh,
the
yeah,
background that was
that was creepy when Ben was in the library and
right
then he
there
started
was
flipping through where it had the explosion, and
yep
then if you see him sitting at the table, and this is
mhm,
why I like movies now is they have these little Easter eggs, these little shockers in the background that you don't see
don't
unless you
see
actually catch it. They had the librarian turning all of a sudden and
yep
she's staring literally at him, and then it continues and then you
hmm
see the balloon and then it
yeah
straightens itself back up. So those type of movies, in the 90s, they couldn't have achieved anything
right
like that. That's not
there's
something.
there's so many if everybody watching if you've seen it go rewatch it because there's
Uh-huh.
certain little tidbits that you didn't see the first time around that you're going to see in the second or third viewing because I honestly have seen like I've seen it a few times and every time I go back there's
Mm,
certain things like well I didn't notice that the first time well I didn't see that the second time like those little especially in the background like the little
yeah.
background thing like what you don't notice Pennywise pretty much is in every single scene of that movie but
Yes.
you just don't know it
Like when they're in Ben's room and they're looking at the charter and
right
they're looking at or they're looking at photos of the charter of the 97 people that went missing, and then all of a sudden there's Pennywise that's in the actual like picture, and he's
right
he's made into a real big picture. There's just scenes in the movie, and I was actually talking with my wife that they this newer version of the movie kind of strayed away from the book a
yeah
fair amount,
a little bit
especially the way they incorporated the ending I adding the Indian tribe into it was a little weird for me, but they kind of roped it in, but they kind of didn't rope it in. And then the scene where Beverly is inside the house with the old lady. The question was paired to me by my wife. She said, "Why is the lady naked?"
Because creepy. Because old ladies naked is creepy.
Meh,
Meh, meh. Yeah, except for meh, meh,
meh, meh.
meh, 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 meh. What did you think about the kid cast?
The kid cast, I think, did a really good job.
I did. I thought, and I let. They knocked it out of the park with the kid casting. They all were great. None of them were
Yes.
annoying. None of
Nope.
them tried to overdo it.
Nope.
I think the kid that played Bill did a great job.
Jaden Martell, yeah,
Yeah,
he's a really good actor, and I think.
Finn Wolfhard did a really good job.
Oh yeah, yes.
So I mean, I think kid cast all around they did a good job.
I mean, even the kid that they cast for Henry Bowers.
Henry Bowers was good. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
They did a really good, and I liked how they actually kind of refocused on him and his father, and kind of the story of him, because he was brought back in the second round, the second movie. How it was using him to lure the kids in as adults, as it was. So I think that they did a fantastic job on focusing on each character. Like even Eddie with his mom, and I know. You're not gonna leave me, Eddie Bear. You gotta hurry. Yeah, like those type of characters, and I think they did a good job of just focusing on every single character. You know, Bev with her dad. Yeah. I do think that they made Bev with her dad a little more. How do I say this? A little more
incestuous,
more child abusive than the original factor. I mean, he still had that factor, and I think in the book he did too, but I think they focused it a little much in this movie, which is fine, but I think some of the scenes with her and him were a little weird, I guess.
I wouldn't say weird, but it really kind of hyped up the tension about who she was as a character.
Yeah.
So they were I wouldn't say cringy. They were uncomfortable, those scenes, because obviously you're dealing with some sort, a version of child abuse with her. So,
yes.
But yeah, overall, I think the kid cast and the adult cast of part one worked really well. Part two, on the other hand, part two was released 2 years later. Of course, it was directed by Andy Muschietti again. The cast of the now adult version of the kids starred Jessica Chastain, James McAvoy, Bill Hader, Isaiah Mustafa, Jay Ryan, James Ransone, Andy Bean, and Bill Skarsgård back again as Pennywise. What are your thoughts? I was mixed about part two.
Why were you mixed?
Mostly because I think the miscasting of the adult versions of the kids. I didn't like James McAvoy as Bill.
Why?
There are certain roles that McAvoy does good, and there's certain roles that McAvoy does really not good at all. Okay. And I didn't like him as Bill.
What were the elements that you did not like him as Bill? Because I was on a mixed plane with him as Bill.
I think one of the reasons why is McAvoy's accent as an American accent doesn't translate pretty well with me. Like I just think you can tell it's so fake.
He's Scottish.
Yeah, it's look, he's really good in other roles, but I think this one was a misfire for me because just the acting, like his accent.
Okay.
I didn't like
Chastain. It was Patricia.
I think Bill Hader knocked it out of the park.
I do, yes.
And Chastain did a really good job as Beverly too.
Okay. I think I can kind of agree with that. I think that maybe McAvoy brought kind of a goofy side, maybe because of his I'm not going to say because of his accent, but I think he brought maybe a goofy element to Bill just because. I don't know. It was a hit or miss for me with him. I mean, I liked him in other movies like Split. He was fantastic.
And I have one other. I have the dude that played the adult version of Ben, Jay Ryan. Kind of, he was really one note. He was kind of just like a to me, just really a wooden performance.
Okay.
And I think that's what the part two really suffered from was the performances from the adult actors this time, not from the
Okay.
kids. And but overall, I think part two is it's really to me it's a really hard part of the book to really tackle because now you're the adult versions of the kids. You really
Yeah.
have to wrap this up and knock it out of the park as well. Look, all the scenes with Pennywise were great. They were
Yeah.
terrifying, especially under the bleacher scene with the little girl.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that was a scary scene too as well. Now,
Hmm.
I think what they did to at the end of the movie now revealing him to be the spider crab. Um, now they didn't do full crab. They went half
No,
crab,
they didn't. They were half clown, half crab. But
half clown.
I do think that they actually did a good job on that.
I do
Honestly.
too as well. I think showing him as like the half crab instead of going full crab. Now that should be a hashtag now. Full crab, half crab.
Yeah. Full right.
I think that's what they should have maybe done in the miniseries was try and do just
Yes.
like a half crab, half clown hybrid.
Yes. No, and I agree on that because he was a lot more terrifying as
Right,
half crab,
half
half
crab,
clown, half crab. Hashtag.
half crab, half crab.
I do think that like James Ranzone, who played Eddie Kaspbrak, and again Bill Hader, who played Richie Tozier, I think they were both fantastic, and they played off each other really well.
They
Like
did, yeah.
like James Ranzone, he's been in a lot of movies. Like he was in what is the one that I really like? I can now draw a blank on it. I can't think of it now.
He was in Sinister.
Sinister. That's right.
He played the cop. Played the
I
cop.
can't. Too many drugs. So he does a really good job in any movie that he brings. He brings that. It's not really a funny element. It's just kind of like a sarcastic ass kind of element to it. And I think as Eddie Kaspbrak as an older version, I think he did a really good job.
Okay.
I do kind of agree that McAvoy was probably a hit or miss on this.
I'm just saying it's the whole accent thing. It is. It's just to me.
Well, do you know the kid that plays Henry Bowers? Nicholas Hamilton is actually Australian.
Well, he pulls off an American accent well.
Okay.
Look,
All right. All right. Well, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I mean, that's fine. I think
that's why to me McAvoy was an all right Professor X because like there are certain points when he played Professor X, his Scottish accent would come here and there. It's like no,
okay.
Charles Xavier's from New York City, not Scotland.
So here's my question: who do you think should have played Denenbrough instead of McAvoy? Who would have been in your choice instead?
That's a good question.
If you had to pick, if you had to recast who for Bill Denenbrough, who would it be?
I'm trying to think of not young Hollywood, but an established actor that could pull that off. I don't know. You have to come back to that. I don't know. I don't know.
My pick who I think would have been a good job for that.
Oh,
Ashton Kutcher.
Are you serious?
I'm just saying.
No.
He's tall. He's skinny. He could have been molded into the. No, Ashton Kutcher. Okay, all right.
No, Ashton Kutcher. What's the matter with you?
That's fine. Maybe we'll ask everybody else to see what they think. Who could have been Bill Denenbrough?
We just got punched by Pennywise.
Oh my God, there's a lot of things wrong with me.
Yeah,
I guess not. All right, so in those type of scenes, so I think out of the remake, out of 1 and 2, which one do you think was the better one?
1.
Why?
I think performances overall by the kids. Just I think I love the fact that part 1 it had the haunted house vibes to it as well when they go into the. I think overall 1 just really knocked it out of the park with everything. I think with part 2 it was just kind of like a mixed bag with what they were trying to wrap up the movie itself. But
Okay,
to me, part 1 really brought in the horror elements of a haunted house type style, a slasher, great performances overall, and it really knocked it out of the park with introducing everything of the movie itself. But because you had so many of these backstories of who the kids were, what they were going through, and you really cared about the kids in part 1. And in part 2, I didn't really have any kind of emotional connection to the adult characters.
okay.
I really didn't. Like I was kind of maybe rooting for Pennywise to kill all of them, to be honest with you, except for Bill Hader and Jessica Chastain. But I think it's hard to wrap up something like that to really top part 1. I think part 1 did a really good job by just everything all together with the horror elements, the acting, the directing all together. I don't know. What do you think? Which one is Part 1 or part 2?
So I was on the fence about this, and I was going for part two, but you bring up a really good point. So the part one is great, and like you
Right.
said, it focuses on every single character. I think that the actors were great in every single role that they played. I did like two, but now that I kind of think about it, and I actually rewatched the movie, this both of them the last couple of days. Two to me seems, I think one is good. Two to me seems like they were trying to throw too much content all into one.
I agree with you on that too. And plus, when it came to part 2, and I'll be honest with you, I was really uninterested halfway through the movie. I wasn't as glued to like I was at part 1. Like
Okay.
part 2, I was just like, okay, I want to get through this. I want to see how it ends. That's how I was.
I mean, I kind of lost a little interest right after the Asian restaurant scene because
Yeah.
that was a really good scene.
Mhm.
I think the context of the movie just decided to kind of just fizzle. I guess if that makes sense. It
No,
was
it
just
does.
it just kind of like was I don't know. One of my favorite scenes in the second part is when Bill goes into the secondhand shop and Stephen King's there and he buys his bike back. Like
Mhm.
that was one of the good scenes. But after the rest of that, it just gets kind of muddled, and I
Yeah.
think it just everything they were trying to wrap it up and not make it really long. I actually saw the second one in the theaters,
Mhm.
and it was really long. I was like,
Yeah.
this is kind of, just kind of spinning out and not having an ending to it. And then all of a sudden, there's the ending.
There's the ending. Yep. I know. I totally agree. I didn't see. I saw part 2. I think I saw it on streaming.
Yeah.
I rented it, but I saw part 1 in the theaters, and I just remember watching part 2 and just going, all right, I'm
I'm
this
bored.
kind of want to get this over with. Like, I mean, I kind
Uh,
of know how it ends already, but I want to
yeah.
see how they handle it. So yeah, I think part 1 of the night the modern version of it, part 1 is the better of the
So
two.
that's how I was singing Megan. I just wanted
Yeah,
it to be over.
exactly.
Wanted it to be over.
All right, so either way, both films were box office successes. Part 1 actually being the latter with getting better reviews than part 2.
Hmm.
There's such a strong, you know, they everybody loves Pennywise. Everybody loves this series. HBO Max it was actually announced last March, that a series or prequel series is going to be on streaming on HBO Max, which is called Welcome to Derry. It'll take place in the 1960s before the events of It Chapter 1, and will include the origin story of Pennywise the Clown.
I'm excited over that.
Andy Muschietti will be coming back to direct the first episode, and he'll actually and while the Jason I think it's Fuchs, or I don't want to say Fox, but Fuchs Fuchs, whatever. Jason Fuchs is
Uh,
going to be
Fudge.
Futch. Okay, Fuchs will write all the episodes in the series. I'm actually looking forward to this as well, because I'm really interested in seeing how they handle the backstory of Pennywise.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited over that. I'm when I saw that being dropped, I was like, oh, well, this is. Usually, I'm not okay with doing something like this.
Yeah.
They usually make it kind of weird and hokey,
Mm-hmm.
but I think this might be a good thing.
I think the most interesting thing I'm really looking forward to seeing is like what tone they're going to be filming this series in. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what type of, like, how are they, what the tone is, like how is it going to be filmed, like all that element of what it's going to be like, because this is a beloved book and a beloved movie and miniseries. How are you going to be? You can't look. You can fuck up a prequel series.
Oh
You
yeah.
can't.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I'm really interested in seeing how they really handle the backstory of Pennywise. So
Yeah, I mean, you most definitely can. Like, there's certain series that you put out, and I think what was it? It wasn't Salem's Lot. There was another one that came out that was just absolutely Castle Rock. Did you ever see Castle
I
Rock?
never saw Castle Rock. No.
I started watching that, and I was really excited because it brought the elements of like needful things and everything like that, and it got kind of weird. And I'm like, I don't know why they would actually keep doing this. It was not a series that should have been produced, I
Right.
think.
Well,
And
I think Stephen King's books in general are really hard to translate to screen, because history's proven itself that most of his movies have been really shit. Like the books
no,
going to movies have
yeah,
been really shit. Like it's
yeah.
like you try to like adapt his movies into like a horror movie, and then sometimes it just falls flat in its fucking sideways.
Yeah, and it goes sideways. Like in Castle Rock, Bill Skarsgård was in it also,
Mm.
but he spent most of the time locked up in like a caged room, and it just didn't make to me. It just didn't make any sense. Like he didn't even have like a formal name. It was like the kid.
Yeah. It's tough with I remember watching the Night Shift, that movie where it was like the giant bat that was or giant rat or giant creature and this like steel mill whatever was offing
Yeah,
people
and
like
I've read the actual book
yeah, and
itself.
it was actually a short story, so it's like you
Yeah.
can't it's hard to do those types of movies. So I'm looking
Yes,
forward to it. I'm hoping Welcome to Derry knocks it out of the park. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well.
I am
So,
too.
all right, let's get into some movie news. Megan, did you watch The Last of Us premiere on HBO Max? Do you have HBO Max?
I have HBO Max, but I haven't watched that yet.
So, The Last of Us is based on the HBO Max series. Is based on the hugely popular game on the PlayStation. Which I don't know if you've played it before. I don't have a PlayStation. I have Xbox, so I've never played it before. But I was really interested in seeing the show. I watched the premiere episode. It is great. It is faithful to the lore of the video game. It actually knocked it out of the park. It debuted to 4.7 million viewers, making it the third largest debut for HBO behind Boardwalk Empire and House of the Dragon. So they've got a certified hit with The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal.
Okay.
And that show is really good.
Okay.
We talked about Skinamarink, our last show. Remember?
Yes. Yes.
So Skinamarink is starting to gain some buzz. It has already made $800,000 in its first theatrical run. It's only in 692 theaters across the country and has made almost $1 million off its $15,000 budget. So it's starting to be like almost another Terrifier Skinamarink is. But here is the deal. Critics love it. Audiences not so much.
What I've understand. It's a split decision.
Right now, you're either gonna love this movie, laugh at this
Right.
movie, or be like, "What the hell am I watching?" Movie.
Yeah, I actually had a guy in my work who was very excited to tell me that he was going to go see this movie. I showed him the trailer. He was like, "All right, I'm going to go. It's at a movie theater by my house." And the other day I said, "Jacob, what was your review? I was waiting for you to tell me." And he looked dead at me and said, "If you have an attention span, you will be able to watch this movie. If you do not, you will walk out of the theater." He's like, "Good enough. I have an attention span." He said, "There are scenes in the movie where you're like, what the fuck is going on?" He said, "But it is a very interesting movie." And this is the thing. Jacob, you'll never get to meet this guy. Jacob is a very, very nice guy I work with. He's a little bit strange. However, he looked me in the eye and said, "This movie made me uncomfortable."
See, that's good though.
And
that's
what I was looking for. That is exactly what I was looking for.
That's a good thing.
For those who have not seen the trailer for this movie, the trailer will make you uncomfortable. Most definitely.
And from what I've heard, there's no like real ending to the movie too. So it's like an ambiguous type of just what did I just watch type of. So I'm hoping it comes down here in Florida. Or it is in Florida.
It is in Florida. It's here, but it's only in select theaters. I'm just gonna wait till it comes on platform. And for those know, there's not a lot of dialogue in the movie either. There's like whispered voices, and a lot of low shots to the floor. There's a lot of high shots to the ceiling, but there's really not any type of interaction. Even you don't really even see any type of actors.
From what I've heard too, like a lot of the dialogue, it's subtitled too.
Is it really?
Yeah, because you can't understand what the hell they're saying. So
I'll have to definitely wait till this comes out on platform. But if it keeps getting, reviews, I mean, I don't know. This is a movie that if the trailer makes you uncomfortable, you're gonna definitely like the movie.
Right.
So,
all right. Sam Raimi is going to be still in horror movies. Suburban Hell. Sam Raimi and Paul Feig will join forces for a demonic possession horror movie called Suburban Hell.
Okay.
So Sam Raimi going back to his horror roots, putting out some things. Of course, Evil Dead Rises will be coming out pretty soon, but Suburban Hell is based on a book, which will be coming out pretty soon. So look out for that. I'm a little on the fence with this, only because Paul Feig, who did the Ghostbusters remake, I don't know if he should be involved in the horror movie.
You don't know if he should be involved in this?
No.
You didn't like the remake?
That'll be for another show. Here's the synopsis for the novel. Amy Foster considers herself lucky. After she left the city and moved to the suburbs, she found her place quickly with neighbors Liz, Jess, and Melissa snarkily together from the outskirts of the PTA crowd. One night during their monthly wine get-together, the crew concocted a plan for a clubhouse she shed in Liz's backyard, a space for them, no spouses or kids allowed. But the night after they christen the she shed, things start to feel off. They didn't expect Liz's little home improvement project to release a demonic force that turns their quiet enclave into something out of a nightmare.
I'm sorry. The fact that you said she shed in this makes me a little uncomfortable.
You know what? I think the angle with this, it could probably be a horror comedy.
Like yeah, I can, like, making fun of the Evil Dead, possibly.
No, I wouldn't say making fun of it, but just kind of being like a horror comedy. So, I don't know.
Like Shaun of the Dead?
Could be.
I love Shaun.
Shaun of the Dead works. Shaun of the Dead works, though. Okay. All right, so it is official. Megan 2.0 is going ahead. The working title right now is Megan. I know you're excited about this. Is going to be set to be, the script is being written right now. It is going to be set to release January 17th, 2025. So Megan 2.0 is a go.
God,
I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to wait till it goes on streaming because after your review about it.
Dude, just don't waste it. I'm baffled how anybody actually likes this. And now whether they're going to make a second one, it left it for a second one. It most definitely left it.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Okay, so I have to ask you a question.
Yes.
Is there a part in the movie where Megan fights like a robot, a large robot called Henry?
His name's not Henry, it's Bruce.
Oh, Bruce or whatever. So she fights that
at the end.
Yeah, I saw that clip on YouTube. It's like, okay.
Well, and that goes back to, just real quick on this one. So, like, towards the end of the movie, for spoilers for who hasn't heard it or seen it, she fights this. They're not even fights. She gets into like a tumble with this huge robot, which I think they could have made this scene longer and a little more graphic, but they didn't. And it was very short, and it basically just like falls on her. It wasn't anything.
You know what? I should get you a Megan doll if they start making them.
Please don't.
I'll send it to you.
Please don't.
So speaking of prequel series, I don't know if you've heard this. Crystal Lake, the prequel series for the Friday the 13th franchise, is coming to Peacock.
Yes.
Kevin Williamson of Scream, who wrote Scream 1 and 2, and the original Scream Queen of Friday the 13th, Adrienne King, is nice. They're both involved with the prequel series. So
very nice.
It's going to be on. It's going to be on Peacock. They officially start shooting in about 2 weeks. So check it. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that.
Okay.
Obviously, you won't have Jason. You'll be having, Jason's mom be the protagonist.
Mrs. Voorhees.
Mrs. Voorhees will probably be the protagonist, and then you'll see. I don't know. This will be kind of interesting in seeing how they handle this prequel series to Crystal Lake. I like the title though. Crystal Lake.
I do too, and I think they'll probably have little snippets of Jason in there, but I think that you're right. I think they'll focus more on Mrs. Voorhees than anything.
Well, I think what they can have, and actually Adrienne King will have a reoccurring role in the prequel series as well. So she'll be in there a lot. So I think what they could do is they could just kind of, if it becomes a hit, then they'll lead it up to when Jason becomes maybe Jason. That's what they're trying to do.
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. I'm pretty sure that'd be interesting.
So we have our next movie news. We've reviewed X, of course, and then we're gonna get to Pearl one of these days. But yes. Mia Goth, the star of both films, who plays Pearl and also Maxine in X, is saying that Maxine, the last of the trilogy of this trilogy, is going to be the trilogy's best. So she is already saying is the best out of the three, which to me, that's boasting a lot, because X is really good, and I've heard Pearl knocked it out of the park too as well. So I want to see what Maxine can do.
I don't know how far they're going to take this back. She's an infinity pool too, so
that looks really good.
That looks really good. I do want to see that. I don't know how far they're going to take this. As far as this type of movie.
Maxine caps it off after that, so it would be Pearl, X, and then Maxine, and then that's that. Unless like Maxine is another huge hit, and then they have to. Well, we got to do another one. So
Okay.
So It was announced today that the trailer for Scream 6 will be dropping tomorrow. Take a look out
Yep.
for that. Of course, it'll probably drop 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Megan, you were kind of confused about trailers the last time, so it'll be 12 noon our time
Thanks.
tomorrow. And
Appreciate it.
Entertainment Weekly did post some pictures up, and I'll show those to you right now. That way you guys can take a look at the photos that they just released. Give me 1 second.
No, we did see. I did see a Scream trailer when I was in the movies.
That was the teaser.
Yes. Oh, look,
So
it's Courtney Cox. Hello, Courtney Cox.
there she is. We've got Hayden
Oh,
Panettiere back as Kirby. She's looking fantastic as usual.
she looks like Meg. What is she? Bride of Chucky. She looks like Tiffany.
So I wanted to put this out there to you. A theory. A
Yeah.
theory.
A theory.
What if Kirby
Mm-hmm.
is the killer?
You said this before.
No, I did not.
I thought you did.
I did not.
Maybe you didn't.
What if she is the killer in Scream 6?
But what motivation would she be the killer?
She's gone crazy.
Okay. Weak, but okay, I'll go with that.
But of course, I have the theory that our boy will be back. So
For those who did not see that, Evan has this Schumacher shirt on that I actually got him, which he proudly has been displayed.
I know Kevin Williamson said he said no, but I'm holding out, man. I love this shot.
Oh yeah, that's a good shot.
Yeah.
They've redone that mask too. Look at that mask.
It looks dirty. He's so in the I don't know if you saw the teaser that came out like a little bit ago. They're in this convenience store, and this is the first time we'll see Ghostface like carrying a shotgun, like carrying a weapon besides a knife.
See, the only teaser I saw was when they were on the subway.
So this is one that like teased like the upcoming trailer.
Oh, okay.
And I think it was just dropped like a couple hours ago, but the scene is the main characters from Scream 5 are in this convenience store. They're like huddled down on one of the aisles, and he's walking around with a shotgun.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay.
Those are the photos. They've got a couple other ones too. It's with Dermot Mulroney and whatever, but that looks good.
I'm actually kind of excited for this one, which as sad as that sounds, because it's the Scream movie.
Kevin Williamson gave his stamp of approval. He says it's a good reinvention of the series. It's looking good. I mean, but maybe he has to say that because he's involved with it. But whatever.
I would think so.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. Well, I'm excited over that. There's some wonderful things that are coming about. So I think this is, and this, as weird as this sounds, I think this is going to be the year of the horror movie or the horror series or something. I think that it's going to turn out to be where a lot of people are going to turn out some really good movies and really good series. And I think it's going to be just horror movies.
So I don't know if you watched that review that I'm a huge fan of Chris Stuckman, who does movie reviews, and he reviewed Skinamarink, and he did say at the end of his review that right now horror movies and superhero movies are really carrying like the movie industry when it comes to box office and numbers. And I agree with him, because I think with all the IPs that are coming out this year, like Evil Dead Rises, I mean, Scream 6, like all these movies that, I mean, look at what Terrifier did off of what budget they had. Look at what Skinamarink is doing right now with the budget it has. Like, people are wanting to see horror movies again, and horror movies done well.
Mm-hmm. And it's not one type of horror movie, though. It's it's a culmination of slasher, suspense. It's not just one type of horror movie, which is what I think that they should be doing, is because once you start producing that one type, everybody gets bored. Everybody gets bored. Nobody wants to watch it. And then there's nothing for everybody else to see.
Well, it's that whole like cookie cutter thing where, okay, remember like how when Scream came out, then all of a sudden you had a bunch of teen slasher films. So it's, I think what now with horror is you're not getting that cookie cutter just straight off the box. Like it's the same movie. So I think you're going to see so many different, unique type of horror movies.
No, I agree.
And some of them are going to work. Some of them are not going to work. Barbarian. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot of types that'll be hits and misses.
Okay.
Barbarian.
Megan. Please, I want you to watch that movie when it comes to streaming. And I want you to please tell me what your opinion is. I think I'll base my
already like opinion on it is probably going to stink because of just the memes and the
Oh,
overusage of when she does the hallway scene where she dances and stuff. I mean, when it becomes a parody of itself, then it's going to be stupid because they already did it on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, where they did Wednesday and did Megan as a dance off.
Yeah, and it was Taylor Swift songs too, which makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna
So
pass
my
on
opinions are already low about Megan.
that. Okay,
So
that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
All right, everybody. That's been another episode of Come Play with Us, Danny. Make sure to go to our YouTube page, subscribe, and hit that notification bell when our new episodes drop. Make sure to go to Anchor.fm, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Google Play for our latest episodes that come out on audio, which you can play in your car.
Yes.
And don't do the video because if you do the video, you could like crash your car, and that would be good. So just yeah. But we'll see you guys next time on Come Play with Us, Danny.
Yep.